Welcome back and welcome to Homes Today. Here we shall learn wealth of information about homes. This is a proud presentation of Audrey Forshey, who is a brilliant realtor at Remax Realty. Audrey is also a personal advisor. Anyway, on this set, Audrey with her guest will relay information on how the inspection process has changed over the years. Let's see.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us again today. Again, we're going to have our friend Dan Deist here from Top to Bottom Services, and he's going to talk again to us about how the home inspection process has changed over the years. So we talked about the general terms of a home inspection last week, and so today we're just going to talk about it's kind of progressed and changed a little bit over the years and what is different about the home inspection nowadays. So Dan, thanks for joining me again. I really appreciate it.
Great to be here. Great to be here. A lot of fun.
Thank you. How long have you been in the business? I mean, you've had your business since how long? For how
2004.
Long? Oh, very good.
We're a multi-inspector firm based out of Gaithersburg.
There you go.
Yep, 2004, a lot of things have changed.
Yes, and you do Washington, D.C., you do Virginia, you do the whole DMV area pretty much, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yep, absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for you, how has the inspection process in the industry changed since 2004 for you?
Well, for me specifically, I laugh now when I go on these inspections because now I can sit back and go like, wow, I remember when.
Yes.
Right? It's like going to school uphill both ways.
Yes.
Right? Well, when I started doing inspections, it was all NCR paper. You'd write it,
yeah.
and we'd have to fax it to you guys,
yeah.
and the fax could never be read.
Yeah.
And then you'd call back and we had to figure all these things out. Right?
Press hard, the third copy's yours, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. No pictures.
Yes,
right?
no pictures.
No photography whatsoever in the reports. And then it started getting to, wow, I'm really cool because I had this camera.
Right.
And then it went from, wow, that's really cool, to this, to that, to the other thing. So it's changed because technology has changed. And I think it's really helped the industry. It's really helped buyers and agents as well, because now the tools that are available to us are really, really powerful.
Yeah, and for me, when I'm trying to tell a listing agent what the inspector has found and for them to discuss it with their seller, the photos and the
really
details,
helpful, right?
It's really helpful from the old days. And so from my perspective, I've been an agent for 30 years, so it's completely different for me. Same thing, the NCR paper. And back in those days, at the beginning of my real estate career, everyone worked for the seller. There was no buyer agency back then. So as an agent there with my buyers doing the inspection, I couldn't say to the buyer or to the inspector, hey, what about this over here? That looks kind of strange. Or what about that? Because I couldn't ask you or prompt you to do any of that because I was representing the seller. So now that we have our buyer agency from the early 1990s, then that makes everything so much better for you as an inspector.
Absolutely,
and of course for the consumer to be able to have a fair inspection for themselves. So let's talk about when you get the call and you schedule the home inspection and then you show up. So talk to me about how when you greet the buyer, how that kind of, or your guys meet the buyers. How does that work?
When we first get on site, there's a couple things we want to find out, right? We obviously want to know a little bit about the buyer.
Okay.
You know, what's important to them. You know,
okay.
A lot of times they've already gone through the house, and they might have heard some creaky floors, they might have seen a crack, or they might have been told something from a family member, look out for this. So we're going to want to know where they're at.
Oh, that's
we
a
also
good
want to
point.
know where their skills are. Maybe we're talking to an electrician. Maybe she's an HVAC technician. So why would we spend a lot of time on that when we know we can rely on their expertise, right?
Right.
So we're getting a kind of a well-rounded around this, and that's also when we're building some rapport, we can find out how comfortable the buyer is, right? So if we just say, hey, this is really nice, it looks like we might want to trim those trees, and we get the response of, oh my God, is there something wrong with the trees?
Yes.
We kind of know that we're dealing with a little bit of a different type of buyer than we are when someone's a little more comfortable and relaxed about it. So once we get an understanding of that, then we're also going to want to talk with the purchasing agent. Was there anything that the listing agent has disclosed that you think we should be aware of? Or more importantly, your guys' skills are really getting up there now. Like you said, the industry for you has changed so much. So you've been looking at all these houses, you've been going into these houses, walking around, checking it out, previewing these homes, right? And you're going to see things.
Yes.
Kind of like what you said before. Hey, what about that? You couldn't say that before. Well, now you have that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when we get on site, they're going to say, the buying agent's going to say, hey, we want you to look at this,
Yes.
and this. That's really helpful.
Yes, and I do that, you know,
Yeah,
because I'll
absolutely.
say, please check this out. Or, you know, sometimes you'll have a buyer that is not the original or a seller that's not the original owner
Right.
of a home, and they've only lived there a few years, and they're not really sure about some things. Especially, I find they're not sure about the roof.
Yeah.
So if they bought the house, they can't. They didn't put it in. They're not sure if it was changed. So they'll say it's unknown the age of the roof, or you know, maybe potentially the condition of the roof.
Right.
So I'm really going to want the inspectors, you guys, to go up there and really check the roof out and look at it and give us your opinion from
Sure.
that. So also too, I think most of you guys set up the expectation too that when you're doing the inspection that you can't cut holes in the drywall, you can't see behind the walls.
I can't break something?
No, you're not allowed to. So they can only do, I guess, what you call is a visual
It's
inspection.
a visual inspection.
Yeah,
Right,
and then
right.
you test out like the electric plugs, and you
Sure.
look at the plumbing and the HVAC, and you get up in the attic and crawl around in the exterior and everything. But sometimes there can be those things that are hidden that you just never know about. And we've talked about that before, what happens. But you just got to know this is a visual inspection, and we're doing the best we can in the 2.5 hours that we're in the home.
It is. It's visual, but there's things that you can also, when you're, talking to an inspector or when you're shopping the inspector, you can say, hey, I know you abide by these particular standards. You know, you're InterNACHI or you're ASHI and you're following these state regs. Well, maybe, that's the minimum line. That's the baseline, right? So there might be opportunities for that inspection firm that maybe they go another level. Maybe they're the ones that take the panel off the wall. Maybe they're the ones that check the valves and things like that. Remember, those are only standards of practice. They're not where you can actually be. Some firms will go a little bit higher on what they're actually looking for.
Oh, that's good.
And also be aware of what's not really required. A lot of buyers saying, hey, we're going to get on the roof, and we show up and it's a 3-story roof. Last time I checked, I'm not Superman, and none of my guys are Superman either. So how are they going to get up there, right?
Right.
So depending on what you're doing, the state doesn't require people to walk a roof. Now, it might be a business requirement to walk a roof, which it is with our firm. Mm-hmm. But you got to take those things into consideration.
And to that point, if you can't walk on the roof, it's too steep, it's too high, it's been raining and it's slippery, you're not going to get up on the roof. Probably your best bet's going to be able to look at it through the attic, the eyes of the attic.
Wow, you really teed that up perfectly, because that's really what happens.
Yeah.
What I like to explain is similar to like if you go to the doctor and you say, I'm not feeling well. Well, they can look at you and say, unless it's obvious that you have a nail in your head, it's going to be very difficult for them to diagnose what the problem is, right? So they're going to want to either do a CAT scan maybe, they might be doing some blood tests, things like that. So when we talk about the roof, let's get in the roof. Let's look for the roof leaks. Let's look for the suspicious mold growth. Let's look for cracked trusses. Let's look for any signs of animal entry. That is really where your nuts and bolts are on the roof.
And sometimes, talking about the rain, a rainy day is a great day for a home inspection.
Perfect.
I mean, you really want your home inspection to be done on a rainy day, because when it's raining, you can see if water penetrates the basement.
Sure.
You can see if water's overflowing the gutters and the
Pooling
downspout.
around the foundation.
Yeah, if it's sitting around the foundation, if it's coming through the roof, and if it's coming through the roof, where at the roof is it coming in? Is it by the chimney or the vents from the bathroom and that sort of stuff? So a rainy day is a great day for a home inspection. So
well, it's kind of like going to the doctor when you're sick. They kind of like, you walk in, they already kind of self-diagnose, and you walk in, they're like, wow, this person's got this or whatever. It's from experience, right?
Right.
So if we are coming in a house and it's through experience, it's another reason why you want to ask those qualifications of your inspector, how long they've been doing it and what kind of training they have, right? Well, also that environment, that rainy day, love it. Of course, buyers hate that because they don't want to be out in the rain with the umbrella and everything, but we do really, really love those kind of things.
And so, and in a general inspection and how it's changed. I know that in the old days when I had home inspections done, you know, they'd give you the book, they'd leave, they'd explain things and stuff like that. But and it was just a general inspection about the house. So now the inspection is sort of broken up into different sections too. Like you're inspecting, what are you inspecting? You're inspecting just a regular basic home inspection. You're inspecting what?
Well, here's the story. When I coach my inspectors, I said, listen, there's typically 5 things that a buyer's going to want to know, and I think you're going to agree with these. They're going to say, I want to know what's going on with the foundation. I want to know what's going on with the roof. I want to know about the heating system, the cooling system, and any of the stuff with the water heater.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because typically that's something that a potential buyer can see themselves. So they're expecting that at a minimum. Okay?
Yeah.
But then what do you got to do in between all those things? And what we're looking for when we go into a house is we are looking at how the house is wired up. We're looking to see if it's aluminum wiring, if it's copper wiring. There's things that need to be addressed in one of those. It's not a showstopper, but it's something to be considered, right? So then we're also checking doors, windows, all the electrical outlets. We take the electrical panel off the wall, see how that's all wired up. Those are all really important. The home inspection has really gone from like a 45 minutes to an hour kind of thing to 4 hours in some cases, depending on how big it is, the rooms, and the number of appliances.
And the other thing too is as I've said before, that you'll explain to people maybe how to do the maintenance and that sort of stuff. What about your equipment that you can use now? So, like I said, in the olden days, back before
when we came in with the horse carriage.
Back then. So. They would just look at everything, but now you guys have all kinds of equipment to test things, like you can tell if there's a gas leak or those kinds of things. Can you tell that kind of stuff?
There are tools like that, and I actually had a really great meeting. It was several weeks ago. We have our inspector meeting every Wednesday where we have everybody come in, and this time I said, hey guys, when you come in, let's have show and tell.
Okay.
Let's bring your tools in that you use on a regular basis so that all the inspectors can kind of see. And I really enjoyed it because I kind of went in there with like the Elmer Fudd thing. I got the one little side with a screwdriver and a flashlight, right?
Yeah.
And then these other guys come in there and they're carrying in stuff. It looks like they needed a wheelbarrow, right? So there are all these new tools out there, and there are things like infrared, which is really a powerful tool if used appropriately at a home inspection. There's also gas meter detection, moisture meters, all these kind of things now that weren't around. When I started, you touch the wall, is it wet? Hey, write it up.
Right.
Now you can scan it and say, hey, this looks like a potential of an issue right here.
Right.
So just knowing the tools, and you might even talk to the buyer might even want to talk to the home inspection firm, what type of tools, what type of resources are at your disposal to provide the best service.
Right. And then when you're having the home inspection done, like I've said, it's not a catch-all for everything behind the walls and stuff like that. So if we're finding that there is something that you see that you're not an expert at, so you're not a structural engineer.
Right.
So then you're going to want to talk to the inspector and say, what do you think about this? And they might say, it could be a potential problem with the foundation. You probably should call in a structural engineer. If there could be other engineers that you might need to have to come in and kind of validate what your findings are. So this is a common thing too. And when you're going to do that, you're going to want to talk to your inspector and your agent, and then you're going to want to say, I think that we really need to have somebody else come in and then see what their findings are, because those are the people that are specifically licensed for those details.
That's right.
And when they have the inspection, and when you have your inspection in your contract, the way our contract in Maryland reads, is you can have any and all contractors and inspectors there during your inspection and find what they say. So I may have multiple inspections going on at the same time. If there are things that somebody is finding that they feel is important to them. For example, a pool inspection.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pool inspection's different, HVAC is not working right. Sometimes I'll be asked by a potential buyer, they'll say, well, why am I going to have a home inspection when I could have an electrician, I could have a structural person, a pool guy, all these kind of things. Well, they all have their on-site fee, right?
Right.
So we've all had those guys come out and do something in the
Yeah.
house, and sometimes it's $125 just for them to smile. So the home inspector is really there to help you assess potential risk, find out where you need to laser in,
Yes.
and say, this looks like it's been neglected, this is not working properly, this is a problem, or this could be a problem. And then you can go and consult them and say, this is something a structural engineer needs to be or not.
All right, perfect. All right, well, I think we had great information again from Dan. He's given us a good way to look at these things, a way to handle these things. So we thank you for joining us again, and have a good week.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Thanks.